With the recent revelation that Joker from the Persona series would be joining the roster in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I figured I owed it to myself to finally try out Persona 5. Having heard so many great things about the game and it winning the award for Best RPG at the Game Awards 2017, I knew I wanted to play it eventually, but with an ever-growing backlog, I simply placed it there in hopes of one day checking it out. Smash Bros, however, has that influential power that can make you really want to check out a game franchise, and Joker's inclusion in the game really sparked my interest and acted as the catalyst that brought Persona 5 from the bottom of my backlog all the way to the top as a main priority. I picked up the game for PlayStation 4 and it consumed most of my January in the best way possible, so much so to the point where I'm pretty confident in saying that I may just have a new favorite JRPG. Today, I want to explain why. To give a brief summary of the story for anyone who hasn't played Persona 5, you play as the main protagonist, Joker. He is unjustly accused of a crime he didn't commit and therefore sent away from his hometown to Tokyo, where he is put on probation under the legal custody of his new guardian, Sojiro Sakura. This is where Joker will attend school at Shujin Academy and stay in line like a normal student. Through school, Joker starts to meet friends, the main ones being Ryuji Sakamoto and An Takamaki. There is a negative unease in the air as many students seem in distress, specifically towards the high school PE teacher, Kamoshida. And things don't stay normal for long as Joker notices a weird app that has been placed on his phone. The app seems to alter reality, and one day on their travels to school, the story takes a bizarre turn as Joker and Ryuji somehow end up at a castle rather than the school. At this castle, they are taken captive and they meet an alternate king-like version of Kamoshida who threatens to execute them. They manage to escape thanks to Joker awakening his inner persona, and they soon meet their cat-like sidekick Morgana, who quickly explains that the castle they found is a distorted version of reality based on Kamoshida's inner cognition of how he really views the world. The phone app is what allows select users to travel to this alternate reality known as the metaverse, and those with this ability can also awaken and use their persona to battle. Shortly after, in a dreamlike state, Joker awakens to the Velvet Room where he meets its master Igor and its two wardens, Carolyn and Justine. Joker is told that the room reflects the state of the heart, and for him it manifests itself as a prison, which makes sense considering his real-life probation. It is revealed that Igor is the one who planted the mysterious phone app on Joker, and he learns that he is headed for ruin and must complete his rehabilitation as per his quote-unquote contract if he wants to fix that. To do this, Joker must steal the hearts of heavily distorted figures in society using the app. Joker and his friends decide to steal Kamoshida's heart as he is a menace to the school who is physically, verbally, and sexually assaulting students. Morgana explains that in order to steal one's heart, they must steal the treasure within their palace. And in order for the treasure to manifest itself, the palace ruler must be put into a state of unease. To their surprise, they successfully complete this task by securing an infiltration route and sending a calling card to the real-life Kamoshida. Kamoshida then confesses his crimes and is justly punished for his actions. From here, Joker and the gang decide to band together as the Phantom Thieves and target heavily distorted, corrupt figures of society using the metaverse nav to infiltrate palaces and steal hearts. That's a basic summary of the beginning of the game and what you can expect from the rest of it, but the game also uses a few clever storytelling tricks throughout, which are worth mentioning. I really enjoyed how a large bulk of the story has already happened, but is being told through Joker's recollected memories in an interrogation room. This created a huge sense of tension as I was always wondering how Joker got to this state and when the gameplay would line up with that point. Upon reaching late game, I realized that many events currently happening were actually referenced within the first few hours of the game. This helped to create an overall sense of connectedness between the beginning and end of the story and made for many "oh" moments. Persona 5 has the type of story where there is always some kind of mystery going on. The Phantom Thieves are always trying to figure something out, and when the answers become clear, there is usually a huge twist presented that I never saw coming. And this keeps happening as secrets are constantly revealing themselves and making the story feel deeper. With a story that's primarily about dealing with the corruption of adult hearts and making a change in the world, the game is not afraid to deal with very heavy themes. I mean, right off the bat, the Phantom Thieves have to deal with Kamoshida and his various types of abuse towards students. The game doesn't stop there though, because these heavy themes just continue to increase in severity as the story progresses further. Aside from the main story, there are also many side stories happening as well, usually in the form of confidants. These are individual characters to befriend and bond with, and they all have plot lines that are just as deep and connected as the main story. I was genuinely interested in helping them and watching their lives play out, but more on them in a bit. A big part of what makes Persona 5 so entertaining to play is its presentation. The game utilizes cel-shaded graphics that bring to mind a comic book or graphic novel, and at certain points in the game, anime-style cutscenes are used that help to flesh out the Japanese vibe of the world. The game's UI consists of flashy, jagged geometric shapes sprawling out in all directions. Bold colors are everywhere, really capturing a pop art aesthetic. This attention to detail in the artwork just makes it that much more entertaining to simply scroll through the game's menus. There's a huge sense of style and swagger present in Persona 5 that I think, in large, has a lot to do with the art in conjunction with the game's soundtrack. It consists mainly of music from the jazz fusion genre, but certainly isn't afraid to cross over into R&B, rock, and even prog territory. The rhythm section takes the spotlight as intense staccato funk bass lines are woven with tight drum grooves, helping to forcefully propel battles forward. You'll hear roaring organ solos, the quietest, most laid-back electric piano tunes, and even be serenaded by beautiful R&B style vocals, which act as a very unique touch in today's day and age of gaming. I was consistently floored by both the quality and the quantity of the OST during my playtime. There are so many songs here, yet they all managed to be so catchy. As soon as I thought I found a favorite track, my opinion was quickly changed, as even catchier tunes arose. I found the music very effectively captured whatever mood the game was trying to convey, be it a warm sense of nostalgia, dangerous tension, bittersweetness, humor, or even that laid-back sense of swagger that the game achieves so well. Persona 5 has a deep, engaging story and fantastic presentation, but what really makes the game click is the day-to-day gameplay of living life and infiltrating palaces. Similar to the broad scope of themes that the music and art display, the gameplay is also an amalgamation of many different styles as well. The entire game takes place on a calendar year, with each day having just as much importance as the next. There are elements of lifestyle simulation and dungeon crawling, and time needs to be used accordingly to experience both of these elements. In the day, Joker will take part in school classes, and in the evening he'll have the choice of performing various recreational activities with friends or venturing into palaces. The two most important aspects of daily life, though, are the confidants and social skills. Confidants are characters met throughout the story that by increasing Joker's relationship and rank with, he can receive various perks that will help him in palaces. Social skills are just as important though, because in order to increase the rank with confidants, a certain level of a specific social skill may be needed. These skills include knowledge, proficiency, guts, charm, and kindness. Of course, to increase these skills, there are a multitude of recreational activities that can be performed, like eating out, reading books, crafting tools, taking baths, etc. When not infiltrating palaces, there is a huge emphasis placed on deciding which confidants to hang out with, or what activities to do in order to enhance a skill. It's a beautiful circle that requires the utmost attention of the player, especially with so little days at their disposal. I personally found palaces to be the absolute best part of the game. For one, the creativity presented here is staggering. Basic establishments of society like schools and ateliers will transform into wacky castles and museums. There's a certain level of surrealism when first stumbling upon these palaces, and as the game progresses, the scale and absurdities only increase. The enemies fought here are based on various mythological creatures, fairy tales, and religious figures from the real world, and the insane bosses never failed to surprise me. What truly makes the palaces so engaging, like most things in Persona 5, is the amount of gameplay mechanics present and how they mesh together. There's platforming across the environment in crazy ways, solving many types of puzzles, looting for treasure, and stealthing around in order to sneak up on and battle the palace denizens' shadows. This is where Persona 5 separates itself from other JRPGs. It has a turn-based battle system where emphasis is put on exploiting the enemy's weaknesses as quickly as possible. Using SP or spell power, the protagonists will access their personas here, which utilize magic spells to attack. Joker, however, has the special ability where he can use multiple personas and therefore multiple types of spells. battles. The Velvet Room I mentioned earlier is where he can fuse and summon available personas. There is a lot of strategizing when it comes to what personas Joker currently has equipped and what party configurations should be formed based on that info. The party has access to the usual plethora of elements here, being fire, ice, electric, wind, and then the more outlandish psychic, nuclear, bless, and curse. Physical attacks and gunfire are also available to use, with some powerful physical attacks expending HP. Attacking an enemy with their weakness will put them in a downed state and give the character a move known as a one more, which allows the character to attack again or baton pass to another character to exploit more weaknesses. Once all enemies are down, they will be held up, allowing for an all-out attack where the entire party lays down a massive amount of damage, usually wiping out the playing field. Or, Joker can negotiate with the Shadows to convince them to join his roster of usable personas. This dialogue in the battles at first came across as a weird gimmick, but over time it really started to grow on me. Different Shadows will require different answers based on their personality, and figuring out the best thing to say to them felt like an isolated puzzle within the battling. Alternatively, he can simply ask them for money or a useful item. This system respects the player's time and is very rewarding for multiple reasons. 1, it allows the players so much choice of how they want the battle to proceed, and 2, with weaknesses documented as they're exploited, this makes subsequent battles breezier, as a routine of quickly wiping out enemies and speeding through combat with the one more mechanic becomes second nature. When access to a palace is gained, a deadline is put in place to finish it, always culminating with a game-ending event. The developers don't want palaces to be finished in a day, but they also want the player to have to exit them at least a few times in order to replenish and get that healthy ratio of school to palace life. This is made very evident by the SP meter and how there aren't many items that can actually replenish it, especially early on in the game. SP is the fuel that allows the characters to use their magic spell attacks, so naturally the ability to go further in palaces is made more challenging upon running out of it. Thankfully, there are save rooms in the palaces that can be fast traveled to, making for a convenient shortcut if one must leave. The game features a central palace that opens up deeper as the other main palaces are completed. This palace is known as Mementos and is a cognitive reflection of not one person, but the entire general public. It manifests itself as a maze of subway lines with floors that are always changing. It is here that the Phantom Thieves can take on specific requests to change individual hearts who aren't distorted enough to have a palace, but still have a less than desirable outlook on society. Mementos is filled with treasure, and I found it to be the perfect place to just grind for levels and cash whenever I was in the position where I needed to. My experience with Persona 5 was almost entirely positive, but there are a few reasons why one may not like this game. For one, it's extremely text-heavy. Characters will go on and on for a long time. I was interested in what they had to say, and I found the reading to be quite entertaining for a large portion of my playtime. This is where the game's sense of humor can often really shine through, and the high-quality voice acting helps to propel this dialogue. It was not until past the 100-hour mark that I felt like the dialogue could be streamlined a bit. Thankfully, the game does allow for the text to be skipped, so players aren't forced to sit through all of it if they don't want to. Also, this game is long. I personally sunk 130 hours into my first playthrough. As a result of this, one who prefers more condensed short burst experiences may not get the same thrill out of such a large commitment like Persona 5. The thing is, even with a playtime that long, I felt like the game flew by, and that's surely saying something about the consistency of the quality content presented. There were so many feedback loops and aspects of the game that continuously opened up, adding more convenience to my playthrough, even in the late game. To give an early example of this, consider the SP meter that I mentioned before. It fuels the ability to use magic spells and will run out relatively quick in the palaces. There are items that may be purchased early on to replenish a bit of SP, but it's nothing major. Naturally, this is an issue that the player will want to fix. Interacting with one of the confidants, Sojiro, it is found that by raising his bond with Joker, the ability to brew coffee will open up, and coffee replenishes a fair bit of SP. Nice! But as palaces continue and get bigger, it might not be enough. If only there was some way to continually replenish SP during battles. Well, upon reaching a higher rank with the Dr. Tei Takemi, SP replenishing items will be made available to purchase. Score! Now the player can freely roam palaces for much longer thanks to coffee and SP items equipped. But this would have all been impossible if Joker hadn't have stuffed his face at the local burger joint in order to gain more guts and be able to speak further with Tei. In this one example here, I've illustrated how it's beneficial to increase a social skill, interact with multiple confidants for special perks, and how these special perks can benefit you greatly inside of palaces. And this is only one example. Scenarios like this happen all the time in a variety of ways throughout Persona 5. It's easy to mindlessly pack unrelated ideas into a game, but when a game's systems effortlessly blend together to produce a sum greater than its parts, a very special product is made. Persona 5 is clearly a game with many systems at play, and it's how these systems gel together in a cohesive fashion that truly make the game special. Not once did I feel overwhelmed by everything this massive JRPG threw at me. Rather than detracting from the experience, the game always felt more convenient and streamlined as mechanics were piled on. The presentation is over the top, dungeon crawling and palace battles are quick and riveting. Living day-to-day life is more fun than it seems, and the story is as deep as it is engaging. It isn't hard to tell that Atlus developed the game with an utmost attention to every single detail. And it's for these reasons that Persona 5 is my new favorite JRPG. It's a 10 out of 10 in my eyes, and I cannot wait to not only see where the Persona series goes next, but to also dive farther back into this wonderful new series I've found. But now I want to know what you guys think. Did you love Persona 5 just as much as I did? If you did, what was your favorite aspect about the game? Be sure to leave a comment down below, as I would love to interact with you guys. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like or subscribe to the channel, as it helps out a ton. Until the next video, I hope you guys have a great one, and we'll see you then. Bye.